Okay, welcome to the man cave. All right, today I got Joel Snow. He's come to visit Deacon, and he brought his motorcycle. It's a 2018 KTM 690. I was looking for something that wasn't farkled as much as my 2015 that we've modified to make work for Deacon. But what we're going to do, we're going to look at what all the differences are between the 2019 KTM 690 and we'll talk about it. And I think we can probably start right at the very front. It's the first, so the first thing you notice is, oh, I got to mention, this is an EU model. You'll notice it has my Sonora license plates. Okay, so Joel, before I get started, why don't you tell me why did you buy a 690?
I was trying to figure out whether I wanted to do a lot of single track or a lot of like adventure, forest roads, and after doing a bunch of research, I looked at some of the plated bikes like the KTM 300 series and the 500 series, and I just, after the research, this basically seemed like the best compromise of off-road capability and a little bit of on-road. I ride it to work a lot. I do like to scream down the forest roads, and if you do want to get into a little bit of single track, this will do it. It can be a pain in the butt when it falls over, but it'll get there. So yeah, I just loved what I was reading online, and then when I got it, I loved it even more. So.
Okay. So let's see, before we get into the 2019, what have you done to your bike?
Oh God, what haven't I done? Looking at yours, I can see that there's some things I haven't done. So I did the fuel cap, the seat, the Rottweiler exhaust, put the tusk panning racks.
Well, you got the wings
I
exhaust.
got the wings exhaust.
There's a Rottweiler under here.
Soft bags, got the Rottweiler under there.
Wolfman bags.
Wolfman bags, skid plate. Steering stabilizer. It's a little different than yours, but yeah, did that. And then bark busters. And then I took a hacksaw to my clutch.
Did you fall over and break it?
No, I bent it at one point early on, so I thought I should clip those off just to make the bark busters fit. What else have I done? I got a zip tie to hold my fairing on where I broke it. So yeah, she sees a lot of use.
Okay, these are not the stock pegs either.
Oh yeah, upgraded the pegs as well. Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. So, and you still have the canister.
Yep.
So it's not entirely farkled out.
Mirrors.
And you got the
Didn't like the stock
double take mirrors with the little extensions on it.
and the windshield.
Okay. So as everybody knows, my 2015, it's got the double take mirrors on it. It's, I added the Wolfman racks to it. Not the Wolfman racks, but the Wolfman bags. And with other videos that show that. And it also has other pegs, stuff for Deacon. That's the main thing that this bike is set up for, so Deacon can have a place to sit. And it's got the Alberto Dottori fairing, and it's got the Motominded lights out of Colorado Springs. Double take is also out of Colorado Springs. BRP, which you can see right here, is also out of Colorado Springs. So it's good to buy things locally. And again, I also had the seat concepts and the CJ Designs tank filler, P-Run Moto rear rack, and wings exhaust.
A bunch of stickers.
And a whole mess of stickers from every place I've ridden. Okay, but let's go talk about the differences between that 2019 and this one. And one of the first things that pop up is this headlight cowling, because you normally on the 690, you can see you've got this big old instrument cluster with it's got a big RPM gauge, and yeah, do you have a fan switch on this? A lower temperature fan switch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did upgrade that.
And oh, there you go. So we've got this cluster now on the 2019. You notice we just got this little bitty enduro style instrument cluster. There's no RPM gauge, but it does tell you your speedometer, and it controls your ABS and your MTS, things like that. So this actually is looking more like a real enduro than the 690 was before, because of what they're doing with this headlight. Now, coincidentally, I'm just going to walk over here. Here's a 350 XCW, and you notice that the XCW, see, it's just got the small little speedometer, instrument plate, whatever it is. So very, very similar. So it looks more enduro-ish. But you know what's interesting, Joel? This is now under the travel section in the KTM catalog. If you go on KTM online, you don't find it under enduro or dirt or dual sport. It shows it in the travel section.
Interesting.
So prior
Is that
to
even a
that,
category?
yeah, and prior to this, it was always in the enduro section.
They're inventing categories now.
So okay, so let's start right at the very front. Things most obviously, they put more orange on it, and if you're an orange freak like me, you want orange. I even have a sticker here that says, here you go, I bleed orange.
Is this a Bronco
right?
sticker?
It's a Bronco sticker. And what's interesting, when I put the KTM stripes on my truck, everybody thought I was a Bronco super fan, but no.
They killed 2 birds in Colorado.
All right, the most obvious difference between the U.S. version and the European version, which I bought out of Mexico, is the tires. This is a 50/50 dual sport, and then and it's a Midas EO7. Yeah, where is it? Okay, right there, upside down, and it looks like, are these the stock
Yeah, the
tires you have?
stock. I changed the rear out. I haven't gone through.
Okay, so that's the Pirelli, Rally Cross. And then moving up, the triple clamps on the older 690s are cast, and so you can see their shape, both on top and bottom. On the 2019, these are forged, so they're much stronger, and so they're kind of a billet, and that's what you'll see on the motocross bikes and the high performance enduros that are over there. So that's really neat. I have the standard, the handlebars are rubber mounted on the 2019 690, but on my bike, as well as Joel's, we both have the BRP shock mounts to help reduce vibration, and that acts as a riser. Is this enough riser for you, by the way?
It's not. I need to get a little bit more, probably 1 to 2 inches more. I'm 6'3". So.
Yeah, okay, well you want to sit on my bike then and try that out, because I not only have another 30 millimeters of rise on it, but I also have a 30 millimeter drop on my pegs.
Ah, nice.
So I'm not scrunched over when I'm on the bike. That took a long time to figure out. All right, seat wise, oh, it's just on the front. Let's double check that. Did we turn off our ignitions?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you notice on our 690s pre-2018 and before, we all had incandescent lights. All right, on the 2019, these are LED lights, and that carries on to the rear as well. It has LED lights back here, LED tail lights, as compared to the larger incandescent lights that are in the back. Now I've got, if you're interested, I might have an extra. There's an LED light in here that's as a tail light that's really super bright, so you might want to, consider that. Wings exhaust, of course. The stock muffler has a I think it's got a built-in catalytic converter, which the wings gets rid of. And the wings is made out of titanium, whereas the KTM one is stainless steel. But most people want to change it. So, of course, some of the obvious things. Oh, even on, let's see. Oh, notice the brake on the front. Let's go back to the front. Okay, on the brakes are slightly different as far as the disc. As you'll see, there's a different number on the disc itself, but the rear brake on the older ones, you'll see it's a nice smooth diameter. But if you go look at the rear brake on this, it's more like the Enduro, where it's got a chop to help get rid of the dirt and everything to help clean it up when you're in the mud and every place else. So there's some things that were kind of popped out in my head. Yeah, the bash plate down here, it's got a little bit protection along this side. It didn't used to have it like that before. I'll have to move it in. But anyway, this was a stock plate before, and it only went to here. But I added cardboard here and added fiberglass and carbon fiber to just expand it a little bit wider. And so that held up pretty good. And of course, there's no canister on it. But again, that's not the points. As far as the subtle differences, let's go ahead and pop the hood more or less. So just like the other, the 690, you just pull this little guy like that. And let's get yours. Is that okay?
Make sure I'm right. Here we go. All right. Okay. Mine's already popped.
Oh, okay. All right. So on the old 690, it had this little mushroom fastener, and you fit it in right through here. And this does look like a KTM original, made in Italy, so it may not be the seat concepts. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Okay, so you notice how that came off. On this one, it's got these two bosses right here. So it's a different frame altogether, and the seat has these two little lips on here. Maybe there was issues with these things popping off or something, but they went ahead and changed the seat. Now I've got a seat concepts coming, so we'll have to see how that plays out.
How is that one? Have you found it uncomfortable?
I don't know. I haven't even sat on it
for any length of time.
I kind of made a promise to myself that I wouldn't buy a new motorcycle until I lost weight. But because the 2019s were going off the showroom floor so fast, and I got a deal out of one in Mexico City, and I wanted to get one there anyway, I went ahead and bought one, and so I'm holding off riding it. So I've only turned the engine on once. So if I have a lemon, I have no way of knowing that. So I would mention, though, that, okay, you got your Rottweiler thing in here. Do you find that very noisy?
I like the noise it makes. It's the perfect amount of noise.
All right, okay. I like quiet, and I see you've got a toolkit in here.
I think there's a light in there right now, but yeah.
All right, well that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That could be handy.
Storage.
But let me show you something that's on the 2019. And if you'll hold that
sure.
For me too, this camera. If you pop this thing off, see how easy that is? No screws.
That's
this
great.
Is a toolkit.
Oh wow. That's slick.
Yeah, so the toolkit isn't anything you want to write home about. It's just got your standard junky things, a couple stuff, but you could fill it in. But I think it was really kind of cool to at least gave us something. Before there wasn't anything to grab onto. So the other side also pops off the same way. Let's see, it's a matter of sliding it up. Where is it? There you go, and then popping this off. Here, take that. Yeah. There you go. And there you go. And now you can get at the fairing, the rest of that. So it's easier to get hold of get to the guts of the bike this way, especially if you need to change your fuel injectors right there, or clean them out, or use your spark plugs, or get to your fuel injector. So that's kind of sexy. Now I've got the stock paper filter on my 690, and I'm more than happy with it. I'm not looking for extra horsepower. I can't ride it any faster than what I've got anyway. But on the regular 690, if I may, the battery is right under here, and it's a lead acid battery. On the and then if you put your dongle in, it's going to be plugged in down here. There's a little connector.
Yeah.
I don't think it's this connector.
The dongle in there.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I don't know if there's
dongle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's an ABS dongle for the 690 yet. Okay, I'm over here. So the same thing here. You pull out this little cover here, and you get to your battery. Slightly different amount of space, but this is now. It's physically the same size as the lead acid battery on the old 690s, but it's a lithium ion. So not only is it double the size, lithium ion generally has 3 times the capacity. So this is maybe 6 times more ampacity than what we had before, which could be handy because I've been several times in 3 different countries. I killed my battery when I left the ignition switch on, and having my high-powered LED lights, and I had the brights on. That's kind of what happened. So, engine-wise, the new 690 has a larger bore and a shorter stroke. All right.
Yes.
The old 690. The filler tank was totally flush with this little piece of plastic down here. So if it overflowed, any dirt that was in this area would fall into the gas tank. Now they've improved on it because they've raised this up, and so that's not going to happen. But still, other people are getting to a higher filler. One thing that if you've got a dog on it, you don't really want to be messing around with your keys all the time, and so just having a screw on top will be handy. Okay, so let's look at a couple differences. The old 690 has a okay, let me get to the second page. There we go. Yeah, 102 millimeters bore by 84.5 millimeters stroke, and the new one has got the there's 105 millimeters with an 80 millimeter stroke. So it's a 3 millimeter larger piston diameter. So that means it should rev out quicker, right? Shorter stroke?
Horsepower's same, but yeah.
Well, the horsepower is not the same.
Oh, it's not?
No.
67. Oh,
this is not good. This is from bikes stuff. This is the horsepower on the 2014, 2018 is 67 horsepower. This is 74 horsepower.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So even without doing anything with air cleaners, you're getting a significant larger amount of oomph when you ride. I think they both have right now, I think this comes with a 15-tooth sprocket. I've got a cover coming from Venacci Racing or Venacci Motorsports for this. I've got a rack coming from Venacci, and yeah, I notice you have a Tusk, and the one that's on my other bike happens to be a it's a KTM brand, but it's exactly the same as a Touratech. The radiator on my bike, it's a little tough to see. I just did a video of adding a radiator guard to this thing. Yeah, you'll see it right down here. But if I go over to this one, there's no place that I can actually put it on the radiator. This new Shroud is much stiffer than it was on the earlier 690's. And so maybe if I fall down, the Shroud is helping to protect it better. Even the grill has got these two screws here. It looks like it's reinforcing it and stiffening it up. So maybe I don't have to. And that's probably where that extra went from 315 pounds to 328 pounds. So that's maybe where some of the weight went. Also,
Weight, right?
yeah, and also since I'm carrying a toolkit, that's now added into it. That has to be added to the weight. So little subtle stuff. What else? So the 690 had a slipper clutch, and so I never had a problem at all with my clutch burning out, getting hot when I'm on the trail and I'm slipping it all the time. But the new one is, it not only does it have a slipper clutch, it has a I forget what they're calling it. It's but it's an intelligent clutch. When you're going, you can shift this without even pulling in the clutch at all. So if you're going up a gear and you touch this thing, it shuts off the fuel injector just briefly to allow the engine to slow up some, so you can shift it into gear. Then there's a smooth transition to the higher gear. There's no chunk going on. By the same token, when you go down, when you go to push it down, as soon as it detects that, the fuel injectors give it a little bit of gas and increases the rev automatically on the motor, and so it meshes with whatever the wheels are going, so there's no chunk going down. So if you're in trouble like I do, sometimes you're holding on for dear life, you just don't want to bother holding on a clutch. You just jam it into gear up and down, or if you actually, like I'm always forgetting to shift out of second or third when I get to a stoplight, and I'll let out the clutch, and all of a sudden I realize that I'm in too tall a gear and I'm lugging it, or I'm going up a hill, I can just jam it into gear.
That's great.
We also have an extra counterbalancer. Up in here in the engine, they added a counterbalancer up on near the camshaft. So not only do we have the balancer on the crankshaft, we have one on the camshaft, and that makes everything else that much more smoother. And of course on the 690 we had our ABS. That was a new thing in 2014 that was introduced, but now in 2019, 5 years later, they introduced this MTS part that you can, this little part is here. So when you're on this switch, if you just hit this button, you'll see the numbers change, and whatever number is, that means like it's going to turn it on or off.
So no more
as far as your traction control.
That's great.
And it's supposed to help you, like there's a road version is the one, I think the off-road is the two, and on the off-road one it helps you if you want to spin it and flat track it, you can, or you can turn it off altogether. Then they got the ABS that you can hold down and until it changes. We'll have to look at the manual for that. I'm not going to really get into it. I think you actually have to hold this down 5 seconds too to make any significant changes in it. But so that'll be fun to try out. Again, I haven't ridden this thing because I haven't lost my weight yet, and
It's a reward.
yeah. So subtle differences. But check this out, a USB port right there on the headlight and display mount. So that's new. That's one less thing I have to buy or modify. And it still has the two accessory outlets, 1 and 2, which you'll see on some of my other videos. And it looks like the foot pegs were the same as they were stock, but the whole tail section is totally different. Oh, the mounting points for these handles is also different. And so the Tusk rack and my Touratech rack or the KTM rack, none of that will fit on the 2019. So the manufacturers are hustling to make new stuff. And so I do have Vanacci Motorsport is Andrew has made up a new rack for it, and that's coming in. My P-Run Moto, hold on. I've got the first of the P-Run Moto Racks to hit the country. It's a brand new release. Okay, here we go. So that'll go there. And so looking forward to putting that on. And he worked with Vanacci Motorsports to get all the spacing and everything set up accordingly. One thing that he also sent me is this is a brake master cylinder protector, and that goes on under here. Goes right there, and you'll see it on my bike. Right there. So it keeps. I don't know. Does your rack have a? Just notice the buddy pegs. You have a place for your buddy pegs too.
Yeah, I don't have them on.
Okay.
There's a spot for them.
Well, I got in a situation once where a guy broke his collarbone, and we needed to ferry him out of the wilderness, and so we'd go two up on one bike to take the bike back, bring the injured guy back out, and that really helped. So ever since then, I go ahead and leave my buddy pegs on. Although they're a little hard, and sometimes if I'm traveling a lot, I can put my my feet toward the rear just to give them a different position. We'll see how it goes when I get the new rack. So potential other design changes that we might make. We got tank bolts. The jury's still out. Do we need tank bolts? We got heel guards. They go right here, and I'll mount them on just to show them off. And other than that, let's see. The tail section. One thing I need to do is move this, just like you did. You can see how my my license plate is. There's this little bracket. You get it's KTM, and that will screw onto your bike, and you can put your license plate on it, and then move it up here out of the way, so you don't have to hit it. And same thing goes here. I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to move this plate right up underneath here, and get rid of this whole bottom section. I'm thinking, what do I? Okay, I think this part, this all unscrews. We'll have to see where it goes. How to do that. So, anyway, I think that's. Oh yeah. Here, I got to show you something. There's a difference. I noticed this. You notice how smooth? There's nothing on the top of this, but if you come over here and you look right here, see that little screw right there? Mm-hmm. All right, that's for a bleeder screw, and on both sides. Now you only see that on the pure enduro models, and I don't know if Chris ever put one. He does. Okay, so on Chris's bike, check this out. See, he's got the bleeder screw sitting there.
Yep.
And how that works is that you just hold that thing down, and it equalizes the pressure inside the forks to the ambient pressure outside. So when you go from like 14,000 feet elevation down to sea level, you can equalize the pressure so you don't blow out the seals in your fork. So that's a feature only on the high performance racer stuff. So that's another thing then that they incorporated into the 2019. And and by having that little screw. So I'm just today I'm ordering one from Rocky Mountain. They're $29 for a pair. Get it from Rocky Mountain ATV.
Can you put them on these? Or only?
You can't do it.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. Yep, I see you've got your Utah sticker.
Yep.
Do you have a Colorado one yet?
I think it's good through.
It's March to March.
Oh, well then it's not good. I need a new one. Yeah, March 31st. I'm out of date.
Yeah, so we just go down to Broadway in Denver,
Mm-hmm.
go to the fishing game, give them $25, just hand you one. You don't have to show them your VIN or anything. So, one thing, you see the kickstand foot, that round thing? On the new one, they've got it sticking out a little bit farther. And I think that makes it easier for when you want to hit it with your heel, right? You can catch it easier behind you to bring it down. But you'll still want to put a foot on it. You know, like that. All right. See what a tall guy likes if I've got it sitting up there far enough for him. That was a good review.